Thank you for having us. Good afternoon. I'm going to start out by giving a bit of an introduction on influencer marketing as a whole, and then we'll go into more detail about Pamela and where she stands, who she is, what she does. Why do we talk about influencer marketing? And the whole phenomenon is the concern of traditional advertising. Why is traditional marketing, traditional advertising no longer as attractive? And that's for two reasons, we believe. One is a problem of attention. When you think of advertising, when you think of your regular day, you get up in the morning, you switch on the radio, you switch on the TV, whatever, you look online. Wherever you see advertising, consumers try to escape it. When the advertising goes on the radio, you switch the channel to the next song to keep watching the content that you're actually trying to get. And the same thing with TV. You switch the channel when the ad starts. And online, people install ad blockers to escape it. So that's one of the two reasons. So people they want to focus on content rather than an interruption of their content. And the other part is credibility. How credible is it if as a brand, you tell consumers, my brand is the best? That may be true, but a lot of people are probably going to say the same. So that's why people resort to recommendations, resort to peer recommendations. Well, the same as you book, when you book a travel, you look on who else recommended the hotel or the airline, etc. So that's why traditional advertising is having a problem, and where actually influencer marketing comes in. And influencer marketing really is based on having people, true people, personal people, rather than a banner advertising, who have come up in a specific topic, who have generated a lot of following in a certain target group without ad spend behind it. So it's people who really believe in these people really like them, really are interested in the content that they provide, and usually on a very personal level. Influencer marketing, or the concept of having idols, people you follow, isn't new. You all know Sean Connery, you all know Audrey Hepburn. These are all people who've always been there, but social media now gives you the opportunity of following these people all day round. You see them when they get up in the morning with frizzy hair, depending on what they post on Snapchat. You read about very personal topics on YouTube, on their blog, about a recent breakup, about stories with parents. So it's a much closer connection and a very direct relationship you have with them. And that's quite interesting when you walk around, when you see people like Pamela walking around, and as opposed to traditional celebrities, people come up and hug influencers right away. People don't just stand away and say, hey, can we take a photo, but people come and are very emotional about it because it's a much closer connection. So this is where influencer marketing comes in. This is where these people have a much stronger leverage and a very personal connection. And how can it be used? So it's about having true people speaking for your brand, and we heard before. How can this be used? How can there be a platform for such a thing? We don't actually believe that there can be a platform, because it's a personal relationship. You don't book a banner. You can't just say, okay, I'm looking for people in a certain demographic, in a certain interest group, and I want them to post that kind of post. It's about a very personal connection with the brand and the person, and about the character that the brand represents. It has to stay authentic in what they do. And we had a video to introduce Pamela to you today, but let me give a brief introduction myself. So Pamela started out on Instagram, by now has over 2.3 million followers there, but also has a Snapchat, very strong, one of the strongest Snapchat accounts, as well as a blog, which took off very well. And perhaps we'll start off doing a quick interview so people get to know you a little bit better and to understand how you grew your following, and how you work, how this whole commercial space of influencer marketing really works. So how about you just start out by telling us how you started with social media? What was the beginning?
Yeah, so I started out using Instagram at the age of 16, and I just did it without any purpose. I just started because I don't know, I liked Instagram or Facebook was not as in anymore, and that's why everyone else started using Instagram, and so did I. And then I started posting pictures of my life, of what I'm wearing, of what I'm doing all day long, and that's basically how it started.
Perfect. And when did you start working with brands? Was it right at the beginning? Do you always have a vision that you wanted to become an influencer or have strong accounts to work with brands, or what was the purpose of doing this?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know that you could become an Instagrammer or an influencer, because at the age of 16 or 4 years ago, you didn't know that there's a marketing system behind it, or could be a marketing system behind it. And so I didn't want to become an influencer just because I didn't know that it would be possible. But I started working with brands after about 2 or 3 years, so kind of late.
Okay, and how do you select brands? By now, there's a lot of people trying to work with you, or you may be interested in working with a lot of brands. What do you decide about? Do you decide about what the volume is, the length of a deal, or about the brand? What's the key determining factor whether you think you should work with the brand or not?
I think the main point is if I like the brand and if I like the product. So I'm rejecting almost 90% of all the inquiries I get, just because I can't really connect to the brand and I don't like the product maybe 100%, and that's a reason why I wouldn't work with them. And if I like them and if I like the product and the quality and so on, I will test it, and then we will talk about the cooperation and what the company wants and how I want to show the product on my Instagram account, because I always want to keep it kind of authentic and not like this kind of advertising, but more like how I use the product in my daily life. And if everything fits, we will make a cooperation maybe.
And what does a collaboration look like? Let's say you find out there's a certain shoe brand you want to work with, or that you decide to go into a collaboration with. How do you design the content? Is the brand telling you, same as they would design a billboard, can you please place it that way? Or how do you integrate, how do you create the content for that brand?
In Instagram, it's super important that the influencer can always be the person who decides how he wants to display the product. We can always talk about some wishes or some ideas, and if I like them, we can always do that. But mainly, I want to decide how to show the product, because it's my Instagram account, and I want it to look the way I want to. And yeah, so that's the most authentic way of doing it. And if a picture looks too much like advertising, it won't be good for the account and either for the brand or somebody else. So that's the only way of doing it right.
Perfect. We actually have a video of introducing your account. Maybe we'll get to that later. But I mean, we talk about influencer marketing a lot. I think some of the slides may fit. So we talk about saying, okay, traditional advertising is not at the center of attention of people. People don't want to have an interruption in the content they want to view. And we're saying, these people who have huge followings have a much more trustful relationship to consumers or potential consumers than as a brand yourself in direct communication may have. And when you look at the results that has, without going in every statistic, it's very interesting to see the user behavior. Probably a lot of you people know in e-commerce, bounce rates of an online store, bounce rates on websites. So the rate that says how many people visit a website and immediately go away because they aren't sticking to the content right away. 30% of a bounce rate is probably a good fact for an online shop. When you compare to Pamela's blog, when she launched it in the first month, it had 6-figure users and a bounce rate of below 1%, of 0.65%, which means everybody's extremely content focused, which is a new way of attracting people to your brand. And that results in, for example, a 3 to 10 times higher conversion rate with influencer marketing rather than when you as a brand directly communicate with consumers. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And of course, by now probably a lot of people have heard about a lot of cases where you have stories of online shops, product categories selling out on a weekend or in a very short time just because so much momentum is generated online. And when you look at the size of influencers, it's oftentimes very abstract. When you think, okay, people are online, how many people are actually behind it? There's an interesting story at Madame Tussauds House of Wax Figures in London, where at the end of the show, you can select who you want to see next as a wax figure. And this is no longer a traditional celebrity, no longer Leonardo DiCaprio or Angelina Jolie. This is actually Zoella, a 25-year-old English girl that people choose and go for. So there's a lot of practical cases behind this. And this is a quick video introducing Pamela to you, whoever hasn't seen her accounts. So let's say when I look at your blog, or when someone looks at your blog, they might say, okay, a lot of fitness photos, a lot of skin you see. How many of your blog readers are men and how many are women?
And that's kind of funny because we never knew, because Instagram doesn't show you like how many men and how many women are watching or looking at your pictures. And in the blog we can see that over 85% are women. So that's pretty much.
How do you interact with people? I'm sure you get a lot of messages. What do your followers ask you about? What is the relationship we have with them?
Yeah, I have a pretty close relationships with my followers. So I get tons of emails and Instagram direct messages and comments on the blog and stuff. And I always try to answer all of them, but of course it's not possible to answer all of them. So I try to collect like the frequently asked questions and do blog posts about those topics. But I also get very, very personal emails from them that are like super, super long, and they tell me what their problems are, and they want to work on those topics. And I, of course, try to help them. So it's a pretty close relationship.
Perfect. So overall, I mean, we see the developments of advertising. We see this influencer marketing topic becoming stronger. How, as a brand, how can you use it yourself? How can you start your own account? I mean, what do you think is the most determining factor that you get more and more following over time? What is there a key ingredient, a certain topic? What works best for you?
I don't think that there's like one thing that works best or that is the reason why I have a lot of following. I think it's a combination of good quality content and always uploading pictures, so it doesn't make sense to upload like one picture a month. I upload one picture a day at least. And then, of course, the close connection to the followers. And then I also combine a lot of topics on my Instagram account. So I post about fitness and fashion and beauty and when I'm traveling, so everything that I like. And so it's not only a fitness account and it's not only a fashion blog, but I kind of talk to a lot of people with a lot of interests.
Perfect. Yeah, and then the other thing, if you see the conversation about influencer marketing going, you hear a lot of course, from a traditional point of view, saying, okay, but traditional media is still very big. How big are actually influencers in comparison to magazines? And if you look at it, if you compare exact numbers from how big is a certain newspaper, how big is a fashion magazine, it's usually the same size as the same leading influencers around the world. So there's no discrepancy between the size of an influencer or a magazine or someone speaking to you. And then the other topic is, how do you talk about price? That's usually a big discussion. There's one person standing behind the presence of an account. And when you look at a magazine, there's hundreds, thousands of people, extremely well educated, a big company behind it, that might justify from psychological perspective a higher payment. And when you look at influencer marketing and compare exact figures, I mean, it's a serious quantity of reach you have, serious quality of reach you have. And still, when you look at pricing, you're at a much lower point. So when you talk about pricing with traditional media, when you talk about a price per 1,000 viewers, readers, etc., usually in a sort of 20, 30, 40 euro range. And when you're in influencer marketing, you're far below 5 euros, 3 euros, depending on the market, depending on an area, a profile you're on, network you're on. So it's, I mean, a growing discussion about a growing topic, and we're happy to be here. Thank you so much for the attention. If there's any questions, please feel free.